Hello class 11. Good morning. In your e-learning biology class, you know that we are continuing with the chapter Morphology in Flowering Plants. Today we will do the same only. Let's continue with the same chapter. So class, let us continue.
So students, our today's discussion will center around the reproductive part of the flowers, the androecium and gynoecium. First we will learn about the androecium or the male reproductive part. The androecium, as you will find, is made up of stamens, the green structures with at their top, yellow or green colored top. Each one is known as stamen. So each stamen has a stalk, a long stalk known as filament, and at the top, what you are seeing over there in the picture, that is a flat base like structure or a lobe structure, that is known as the anther. Now if we do the cross section of the anther, what you will find? You will find that each anther is usually bilobed, and each lobe again has two chambers. What are these chambers? The pollen sacs. Now, where are the pollen grains produced? The pollen grains are produced in the pollen sacs. The stamen also may be sometimes sterile, and these are known as staminode. So, these are the parts of the flower stamen or the androecium. And now, how do they remain within the flower? Stamens of the flowers may be united with the other members, or such as petals, or they may remain free. When stamens are attached with the petals, they are known as epipetalous. The flower in which you can find this type of arrangement are solanum, petunia, brinjal, etc. Or sometimes they remain attached to the perianth, as in case of lily flowers. So now what is a perianth? Actually, if there is no distinction of sepals and petals, now the non-essential floral organs are collectively called perianth, and the individual part of the perianth is known as tepals. Now these stamens may be united amongst themselves or may remain free. When they remain free, they are called polyandrous, or they remain united when then they may be united into one bunch, then it's called monoadelphous. Very common in Channeros flowers. If you see the Channeros flowers sectioning, you can find these. The stamens are united in one bunch, or it may be united into two bundles, as in diadelphous, as in pea flowers, pea, or into more than two bundles they may be found. So you can find that what is the general structure of androecium. We are students. I must want to just make you remember that we are learning about the morphology. When we will study about the anatomy of the stamen, that is the pollen sacs, how the anthers are formed, then you will know more about them. Okay, but now, so this is about the morphology of the androecium. Next, we will learn about the gynoecium. Now the gynoecium, or the female reproductive part of the flower, which is made up of one or more carpels. Now in the middle the diagram, you are seeing, what you are seeing there, in the middle part there is actually the gynoecium, and the two sides you are seeing the two stamens, and by their side the yellow flap like structures are the petals, and the green structures are the sepals. Now gynoecium, as you are seeing, at the base it has an enlarged basal part, just like a flask you can find, on which lies the elongated tube, the style, and at the tip of the style there is a receptive surface for pollen grains, which is known as stigma. Each ovary bears one or more ovules which are attached to a flattened cushion-like structure known as placenta. Now, just like the stamens, when more than one carpel is present, they may be free. Then they are called apocarpus. And when they are fused, as in case of tomato, are known as syncarpus. Now, what is about the ovules? After fertilization, the ovules develop into seeds and ovary becomes the fruit. So, when you are eating a fruit, what you are eating mainly the fleshy or juicy or dry. The main body is the ovary, and within which the seeds are the ovule. Now, we have just now learned a term known as placenta. Now, you also learned that the ovules remain attached to the placenta. Now, how do they remain attached to the placenta, or what are the different types of this arrangement, which is known as placentation, is our next topic. So, the arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. Now, as you are seeing from here, there are different types of placentation. That means how the ovules are arranged in the placenta, on which they are classified as marginal placentation, axial placentation, parietal placentation, free central placentation, and basal placentation. Now, what are they, or what is the difference, or how the ovules remain attached, we will learn one by one. So, first we will learn about the marginal placentation. While learning about the marginal placentation, you just think of the pea. You have seen the peas and how the pea seeds are arranged over there. So, from there you can know what is the marginal placentation. As you are seeing in the figure A, what happens? Here the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows. This is the one half of the pea shown over here. You can understand from the diagram only. So, here when the ovules are borne on the ridge, forming two rows along the ventral sutures of the ovary, which is actually the placenta, and then it is known as marginal placentation. But now next think about the tomato. Now, what you are seeing in the figure B, doesn't it looks like when you just do the sectioning of a tomato when you are preparing the salad? Now, when the placenta is axial actually, and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, because there are many locules, the placentation is said to be axial. So, here the placenta is axial. Tomato, from the just think of the structure of tomato, or the lemon, when you cut a lemon, the same diagram you get, the same figure. So, that is the axial placentation. Now, we will come to the parietal placentation. The ovules, just see the figure and match. The ovules and the parietal placentations develop on the inner wall of the ovary or on the peripheral part. You are seeing that they are in the peripheral part in the figure C. Now, so that is the example of the parietal placentation. Ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambered with the formation of false septum. This is common in case of mustard. Now, when the ovules are borne on the central axis, just we are coming over there in the figure D. Now, the ovules are borne in the central axis and the septa are absent. Is there any septa? No. As in case of primrose or dianthus, then the placentation is known as free central. And the last one is the basal placentation, in which the placenta develops at the base of the ovary, where does the placenta develops? At the base of the ovary, and the ovules, that is a single ovule actually, is attached to the base of the ovary. It's very common example found in case of sunflower or in the marigold flower. So it is about the different types of placentation. You just draw the diagram, and I have given you some common examples. So next time when you cut the section of the fruit, which you commonly do, then you can match with them, or you open a pea and see the pea seeds, so you can get all these arrangement and you can understand it very easily. Okay. So now the androecium and the gynoecium, the parts we have learned, and even the placentation also. So now what happens after the fertilization? There is a way in the pollen grains fall on the stigma, and the pollen tube emerges and it reaches the ovule and that fertilizes. Then what happens? The ovary changes into fruit, and the ovules which remain inside the ovary becomes a seed. So now we will learn about the fruit and the seed. The fruit is a characteristic features of the flowering plants. It is actually a mature or ripened ovary, and as I told, developed after fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, then it is called a parthenocarpic fruit. Sometimes there are some fruits which are known as false fruit. For example, apple. Now you have to find out why apple is called false fruit. Now you know the example of any parthenocarpic fruit. Actually, the very common fruit is banana. And though I have told you that you have to find out, but just I am giving you the answer only. The fruit in which other floral parts like the thalamus, sepals, petals, etc. fuse with the pericarp, then it is called the false fruit or accessory fruit, as for example apple, strawberry, etc. Now, from the morphological point of view, the fruit consists of a wall or a pericarp and the seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. When the pericarp is thick and fleshy, as in case of mango, you can find very common, and I think most of you love mangoes. Now then this is differentiated into outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. And you can find this example in coconut also. So now first about the mango. What you are seeing over here, the outer thin wall, that is thin layer which you are seeing in the mango, it is known as the epicarp, and the middle fleshy edible part which you like to have is the mesocarp, and the inner stony hard endocarp is there, you know it. So what you are eating when you are eating a mango is the mesocarp. And coconut is also like the mango, because they are known as a drupe, and they have, but in coconut, you know, that is not the mesocarp is so fleshy, rather it is fibrous. Okay, so this is the difference. So there are amongst the drupe also there may be different type. Actually, the fruit may be simple fruit, that is the from a flower having a single pistil, or a aggregate fruit, or composite fruit where the fruits becomes a whole inflorescence. Okay. Now we have seen the examples of the fleshy fruits and the dry fruits also. You know what are the dry fruits? Can you give examples? Yes, nuts. You can see that is a very common example of dry fruit. Obviously there are many variations among the fruits, and you will learn them in detail when you learn them about the fruits separately. Okay, but regarding the morphology, this is the all you have to know for now. Okay, thank you class.